The nation's number one talk station, 99.3 Nigeria Info Lagos. Good morning to you. It's Health Thursday. Every Thursday, we open up the studios to talk health and health-related matters, okay? 8 minutes past the hour. This Thursday won't be any different because we've got something to talk about. Yesterday, Wednesday, May the 31st, was World No Tobacco Day. It's a yearly celebration that tends to inform the public on the dangers of using tobacco. There's also a business side to it. There's a government regulation to it. World over, there's been some type of, I don't know what to call it, but let me just bring in my guest this morning because I don't want to, personally, I have my opinion on how governments all across the world have been able to handle that issue, particularly the control of public consumption of tobacco. In fact, in some areas, they've gone ahead of tobacco now. They've dropped tobacco. They've moved on to other things to legalize them. But that's not our focus. Our focus this morning is discussing the dangers of tobacco smoking. I have our regulars, Dr. Timilehin, Ogunkoya, Wellness Manager, Total Health Trust. Dr. Ogun, sorry, I need to adjust this.
Not a problem.
Dr. Timilehin, yes. My chair, I don't know what's going on with the chair this morning.
We should take a look at
Welcome, Dr. Timilehin. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Good
I hope it
morning.
wasn't hard getting here today.
It was an adventure, but we're here.
You're here.
Yes, we're here.
Okay, let's also ask people to send in their issues with tobacco. If you're a smoker, I would like to get thoughts from you as to maybe how you started, as to how you have started and ended, as to how you couldn't get off of it. I would like to get your thought on that as well. If it's affecting your day-to-day activities, we'd like to know. If it's impacted your life negatively, we'd like to know. Although our guests would shed more light on that as we go along. But please send in your comments so we can get to them as quickly as possible. I found out that anytime I have Dr. Timilehin on the show, there's always a time problem. So please send in your questions in as quickly as possible so I can get to them. Right. When we talk tobacco, what are we really talking about? Because a lot of people just see cigarettes and then they pick it up and smoke. What does it mean when you say tobacco?
All right. First of all, thank you for having me again.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Right.
So there are quite a number of things that we could touch on when it comes to tobacco. And whilst we are emphasizing tobacco smoking, I must also mention that other forms of tobacco are also equally dangerous.
Oh.
So whether you're chewing it, whether you are piping it, whether it's just cigar and it's not cigarettes, they are equally harmful, and it's important that we understand that.
That's
because
right.
sometimes there is the notion that, it's just tobacco smoking in terms of cigarettes that are harmful, but all the other variants are also quite harmful. And I'm hoping that in the course of the conversation, we would even get into interesting things such as shisha and how creative they've been in terms of trying to apply that and all of that. But quite simply put, you're looking at a plant product primarily, but that has a huge detrimental effect on one's health. And I'll just pick it up off from the most prevalent, which is the one that you just alluded to in terms of the habit-forming nature of it. And that has to do with the nicotine component that in itself is inherently addictive. And one of the reasons why that happens is that, whilst the individual is consuming the tobacco and then the nicotine is being released, what it does is that it stimulates the center responsible for the secretion of dopamine. So that's why there's that feel-good effect when people smoke. Unfortunately, and this is very interesting, it also brings about a desensitization. So it means that the more you smoke, the more you want to smoke.
Oh.
So it's such a deadly ripple effect, wherein the more the individual consumes, the more they want to actually get it into the system. And so that nicotine and then the ripple effect to get dopamine released then just continues an endless cycle. And then that's the struggle that people have. And I'm hoping that people would call in and actually mention some of those things that they have had to deal with in terms of the habitual nature of it. And all of that.
I'm counting on that as well, because I'd love to see us talk to real life people on how they've been able to handle or how they've been struggling in handling the issue of nicotine addiction, smoking addiction, and the rest of it. But let's move this on very quickly. I'm particularly even more bothered about how the general society have found a way to give room for such a thing. So this is what I mean. So you have regulations all across the world, countries saying, look, if you're a cigarette manufacturer, you must put this in your advertorials. Smokers are liable to die young. Has that really helped?
Interestingly, while that might be some obligation that they have to live by, the individuals consuming it are still not bothered or perturbed by it. You know, you would find the layman on the street say, now one thing go kill a man. And people, whilst there is glaring evidence that this is detrimental to your health, that indeed smokers are liable to die young, that statistically it's been said that every stick of cigarettes takes about 11 minutes away from your life. So imagine that you keep taking so many sticks. So if you take 6 sticks, for example, you've taken about 30 minutes, more than 30 minutes, you've taken about an hour off of your lifespan in that sense. So all of those data, all of those statements are out there. People are seeing them. But remember what we said about the fact that once people are consuming cigarettes, there is a desensitization that happens, that in the face of glaring facts, there is that need to want to take more of it. So it's a struggle, despite the fact that, it's some of the parks that you would see, there will be pictures of lungs that have suffered severely.
Even on the parks?
Even on the parks. You have some of those images showing you that, oh boy, this thing can be seriously harmful, but people most likely are not even considering all of that, and they just take the sticks.
Would you take us through some of the health impacts of
Absolutely.
Cigarette addiction? Or, let's do tobacco.
All right.
Tobacco in general.
Not a problem. I'll be glad to do that. So there are quite a number of things to consider, and I hope that time will permit us to do that. So interestingly, in tobacco smoking, there is a release of hundreds of chemicals. And I'll just walk through a couple of them just to help us to see the impact of this. First of all, there is the component of tar, which is one of the things that could damage the mouth. So an individual who smokes runs the risk of their teeth, their gum being affected by that particular process. And that's why you would find sometimes that people would say, oh, this is a smoker's toothbrush and things like that. It's because inherently, just by smoking cigarettes, an individual can damage their teeth and then their entire oral architecture. And that's not even to begin to mention the fact that oral cancers can happen as a result of smoking. So that's on one hand. On the other hand is that while nicotine has that addictive effect, that's not all that it does. It also stimulates the adrenal gland, and there's a release of adrenaline that can then lead to high blood pressure. So it means that an individual who is smoking isn't just damaging their lungs, but that they can become hypertensive, and by extension, their hearts can even get affected. And I know we were talking about this about 2 weeks ago.
That's right.
At the World Hypertension Day.
That's right.
And so it's just to have people know that smoking in itself is even a risk factor to having an elevated blood pressure. And we must actually be aware that that's one of the effects that it can actually have on the individual. There is also the likelihood of it damaging the blood vessels of the individual, that the blood vessels tend to lose their pliability, their mobility, and all of that ease that should actually happen. And then you have the blood vessels getting narrower, getting constricted, and it makes it more difficult
from smoking
for blood to flow through. Imagine from smoking, and we've not even seen the end of it. There is also the possibility of it leading to several other cancers. Statistically, it's been said that individuals who smoke, they don't just have a higher risk of lung cancer, but they have the higher risk of quite a number of cancers. And what the numbers even suggest is that 1 out of every 3 cancer deaths can be attributed to smoking.
1 out of 3.
1 out of 3 cancer deaths can be attributed to smoking. And the reason why that happens is that when people consume this, there are carcinogens, which is cancer-causing organisms in those cigarettes that people are smoking. And it does a number of things. One is that it can disrupt the genetic structure of the individual. So there are chemicals such as arsenic and nickel, things that you would find in batteries. In what people are consuming while smoking cigarettes. And that in itself can damage the DNA of the person, making it more difficult for the DNA structure to be as effective as it should be, or even repair itself if there was an issue. And that invariably can lead to so many different cancers. People who smoke are 12 times more likely to come down with bladder cancer, 4 times more likely to come down with penile cancer. So there are so many cancers that we can reel out that are as a result of smoking. And it's just to have people begin to rethink the fact that smoking doesn't only damage the lungs, it literally affects every part of the body. And when you think about its effect on the lungs, not only can it lead to lung cancer, but there's also the possibility of it. So the lungs has something called your cilia, which is like hairy things that help to reduce particles from coming in. Smoking can actually destroy those particles. So it means that someone with smoking can not only come down with lung cancer, they can come down with chronic bronchitis, which is like an inflammatory process in the lungs, come down with shortness of breath, difficulty in breathing, emphysema. So there's so many things that we can begin to touch on when it comes to smoking. It even has an effect on a man's erectile function. So an individual, and I know that this is like the reverse of what people think. People often think that smoking is cool, it makes the man more masculine and things like that, but it can lead to erectile dysfunction. So when we begin to unpack the effects it can have, it's multi-systemic, and it's important that we begin to think about how damaging it can be. And that's why the advisory on a day like World No Tobacco Day isn't world let's limit tobacco day. It's a no
tobacco.
It's that as
More
much as
food.
possible we should actually preach that message.
So that leads me to my next question, because I've heard this myth from smokers before that will tell you that if you want to drop weight, take to smoking. Smoking is such that it takes your mind off of food. So when you smoke, you don't feel hungry, that type of thing. How true is this myth? Maybe the content in the cigarette or whatever it is they're smoking kind of like just limit hunger pangs maybe?
So interestingly, remember that we mentioned earlier that part of what nicotine does is to stimulate that excitatory feeling from dopamine. So that can momentarily be distracting. It's not necessary that smoking is feeling. It doesn't have an impact on your satiety center, which is responsible for stimulating hunger and all of that. But that excitatory feeling, that's what dopamine does in terms of impacting the individual, can obviously be distracting in that sense, but it's momentary at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's a lose-lose situation. You aren't getting the healthy food you should be getting,
Right.
and then you are even consuming something that is harmful to the body at the same time.
We're going to jump on the other cool, in quotes thing now, which is shisha. Quite a number of people feel that it's fashionable, it's more sophisticated, it's more
It's less
bougie, that kind
harmful.
of thing. It's just
It's cool.
yeah, it's cool. Let's put it that way. Tell me about shisha.
All right. So I personally think that it's a marketing genius, and I'll tell you why. There are two things that make shisha more appealing and even it looks healthier. Number one is that many times there's a fruity flavor to shisha. So you can be smoking shisha that has orange flavor, that has coconut flavor, that has, so there is that feeling that, oh, I'm not taking something necessarily harmful since fruits are good for the body, so there's a fruity feeling to it. The second part is that when you look at the shisha pipe, you would find that there is some water in it.
Yeah.
And then there is that concept as well that, oh, I know that the smoke contains toxin, but as it's going through the water cleanses it. And so those two things readily just sell a strong message to people that, don't worry, cigarette is harmful, but this shisha is the healthier alternative.
Yeah.
But quite to the contrary, it is actually more harmful. And I'll tell you why. So what it shows, when you look at it from the statistical point of view, and look at the data, is that what is being said is that if you smoke shisha for about an hour, you would have been exposed, or it's equivalent to 100 cigarettes. 100 sticks. So that huff and puff you are doing, if you do that for an estimate 1 hour, it's equivalent to having smoked 100 sticks.
100.
So we're looking at
Times
if it's
11 minutes.
You can imagine how many hours you have chopped off just by an hour of smoking shisha. So it is more dangerous if we're being absolutely frank with ourselves. And the water in the bowls or in those pipes and all of that is not detoxifying anything. It's not doing anything at all. Instead, you are consuming more, and then you are also exposing yourself to all of the dangers that we had mentioned about cigarette smoking. So it's important that, whilst we're having this conversation, people begin to know that whilst it might seem fashionable, whilst it might seem cool, you are exposing yourself immensely to such a harmful practice.
We'll talk about another thing that is very cool, which is cigar. Big boys. That's coming next. Let's take one or two calls this morning. Let's hear from. And there is also another area that I would love for us to talk about, which is the topic of secondhand smoke as well, which is also very vital. Let's take just one call because of our break. Just one. Beg your pardon. We can't take more than one. After this, we head out. Let's see who is here. Good morning to you.
Mr. Sheriff, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Dan Baba. I greet your doctor. I want to ask a question. I have a lot of questions to ask you. First of all, I don't smoke. But to be honest with you, I love how ganja smell a lot. I wish I can, but I can't. Then secondly, I love shisha, the way it smells, like your guest rightly said. But what is the implication of staying around people that smoke? Since I claim that I don't smoke and I know that I don't smoke, is there any implication?
Right.
Then another thing I want to ask your guest is, back then in the village, smokers used to tell us, old people that smoke used to tell us that, they smoke to flush away their sorrow. I'm getting into the city, I found out that the same excuse was given. Is it true or not? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dan Baba, for calling. Appreciate it. Talking about impact of secondhand smoke and flushing away sorrow impact. Okay, all right.
All right.
Let's go to break, Lagos. Let's go to break. When we return, we'll talk some more. Stay with us, please.
Best of everything in the morning.
It beats my imagination that each time you are being interviewed, you speak to Nigerians as though Nigerians are just used tissue paper.
If you choose to see yourself as used tissue paper, then I can't help.
Okay.
That is the way you choose to see it.
The Morning Crossfire with Sheriff.
Some people think because either you elected a president or you didn't elect him, you must lead your president by the nose. It doesn't happen.
You do the talking while we, along with experts, provide answers to issues affecting you.
So I was trying to understand, if you are campaigning with 35 million unemployment rate in Nigeria, in your thinking, can 5,000 naira feed a whole family for a whole month?
Tune in to the Morning Crossfire every weekday, 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. for a perfect breakfast radio experience.
Anytime I come on assembly ground, I ginger the spirit of my students.
I just want to encourage Mr. Bikule not to continue to sound like a broken record. All those who are clamoring, talk to us, talk to us, talk to us. He didn't talk earlier, they were clamoring. He has had 3 broadcasts, they still are clamoring. It shows that head or tail, you never win with something.
Right here on your number one station for talk, 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk. Wake up to the best of breakfast radio.
We cannot have farmers being slaughtered on their farms. We cannot have girls being kidnapped. We cannot have women being killed.
The Morning Crossfire with Sheriff Quadry.
I think the police, they believe they are above the law before, because they will tell you that I'm going to shoot you, nothing will happen. If they want to resign, let all of them go away. We have people in the street that are looking for jobs that are going to do the job diligently.
Day-to-day analysis of events happening around you.
We should never even allow the government to begin to think about using pensioner funds, because you are a partner, you have big
More talk, news, and sports after this.
And another one. The Samsung Galaxy A series family just got larger. The A24 series just landed. This device has triple camera, immersive display, and of course has ultimate NOx protection. For every A14, A24, A34, or A54 device you buy, you get a travel adapter. Do not forget that with Samsung FlexPay, you can pay as low as 7,000 naira monthly to win any of the A series devices and pay small over 3 to 12 months installments. Go get all your A series devices at any authorized Samsung store nearest to you. Hurry now while stocks last.
Do you want to study abroad? Lakeside Education Fairs is bringing 10 top institutions from France, the United Kingdom, the United States of America, South Africa, and Canada to Lagos to learn about various courses, visa and scholarship options as general application and enrolling process. This event will be held at 2 different locations in Lagos, Lagos Island at Oriental Hotel, Lekki, Lagos, Date Friday 2nd June 2023. Time 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. prompt. Lagos Mainland at Sheraton Hotel, Ikeja. Date Saturday 3rd June 2023. Time 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. prompt. This fair is for secondary school, undergraduate, postgraduate students, and parents. Admission is absolutely free. Register now. Text your name to 080-9219-3505 or 081-0041-3344. Hurry now.
All round the clock, all year round. Never a time the journey would have been easy without you. You made your number one talk station, Nigeria Info, part of your everyday life.
Nigeria Info, callers, you people. Oh, I like the energy. This is what I want to hear every time.
And now, because of your active listening and contribution, we are crowned the radio station of the year. We are incredibly humbled and honored to be standing on the solid ground of your trust on our programming. This recognition means so much to us, and we are deeply grateful for it. Thank you for making this possible. Thank you for choosing Nigeria Info. Thank you for answering our call. Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Every morning is an opportunity to take your hustle to the next level. So, start every day with a great tasting cup of Nescafe 3-in-1. Just add water and enjoy the blend of coffee, creamer, and sugar with that rich, creamy taste you love. To help you start strong and make every morning count. Start strong, finish strong. Nescafe.
My guy, waiting the path now. Oh, my shit, don't see the result. Guy, no be small thing, no, but trust you, Nana. A1 parallel. How you doing now? Fine, I be fine. Now, so small house party go in place tomorrow. Jubo Kese go expect you for you tomorrow.
What time?
6 p.m. sharp.
Why you dey rush talk now?
See, my credit goes finish. My credit goes finish.
For this glue economy, now your credit they finish.
I beg, tell me another thing.
Gas speedometer. No need to rush your call. Buy Glow SIM. When you subscribe to Glow, 11 copper per second. Now to the make calls for as low as 11 copper per second to all networks. It is available to new and existing subscribers. Terms and conditions they shall.
Glow Unlimited.
Mama T International.
Palowski!
Madam Nanja, I greet you.
Well done.
Mama T, please let me have water to take my drugs.
Poloski, I like the way you are dedicated in taking your medicine every day, but it will be sweeter if you go and take the corona vaccine like we discussed.
But I told you I don't want any form of complication. You know I have hypertension.
Uncle Polo, my daddy's brother, Uncle Jaye, also takes medicine every day, but he has taken his COVID-19 vaccine.
Polo, she speaks the truth. In your condition, you need this vaccine more because if you contract corona, it will really be complicated for you. Big Joe takes people to the health center on Fridays. As the chief protector, I am inviting you to join us.
Chief protector, Sabirade.
I have heard. I go follow who no road.
COVID-19 is more dangerous for the elderly and people with underlying conditions. Protect these people in your family. Encourage them to get vaccinated and to test if they develop symptoms. Follow who no road.
See, everybody with immune wahala. Every day comes with its own version of challenges, and you have to be ready to face them, because only then can you move on to the next. That's why I never miss my breakfast. Scratch that! My peak protein breakfast with the nutrients and energy I need to face each day, one challenge at a time.
Every day is a good day to power on with Peak Protein Breakfast. Have you had yours? Peak. Reach for your peak.
Guy, I was just about to come and give you one sweet gist. Where are you dashing to this early morning, by the way? I hope all is well.
Are you on this planet at all? In fact, which gist can be sweeter than the fact that Xiaomi is giving out up to 3 million naira and plenty other goodies?
Guy, I give me the full details of this your own update now.
Yes, this is the best time to purchase any Xiaomi product of your choice. On every purchase, you stand a chance to win a whopping sum of 3 million naira cash, a Xiaomi 55 inches smart TV, Xiaomi suitcase, and up to 100% cashback. When you buy any of the Redmi Note 11 series, Redmi 10A, Redmi 10C, Redmi A1 Plus, you get up to 10,000 naira discount and other sweet deals on your purchase. Guess what? When you buy the latest Xiaomi Xiaomi devices like the Redmi Note 12 series, Redmi 12C, and Redmi A2 Plus, you even stand a better chance to enjoy better deals. All you have to do is simply buy a Xiaomi product and you will automatically stand a chance to win. Did you hear that? So you see, that's your gist can wait to. Because right now I am rushing to Xiaomi store to quickly buy that Xiaomi phone that has been on my mind since. Because right now is the best time. And of course, this cannot pass me by. This offer is valid from 1st June to 8th July 2023.
Uncle Dentist, what are cavities? And how does Colgate protect my teeth from cavities? Does it use Kung Fu?
No, dear. Most tooth pains are caused by tooth holes called cavities. When you brush daily with Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection, its expert formula locks natural calcium in our teeth and helps protect them from cavities.
It's time to upgrade to the world's most chosen toothpaste, Colgate, because Colgate locks calcium in.
Yes, cavities out!
Colgate is recommended by the Nigerian Dental Association.
What do you expect from a cab?
I expect a decent car, courteous driver, and very professional.
I expect security, safety, and comfort.
I expect effective, timely, and great attitude. It's here. Hi-Ride app in Nigeria. Hi-Ride Carbs. Hi-Ride offers commission for drivers in Nigeria. Feel comfortable with maximum security anytime you ride with Hi-Ride. Get rewarded on points with each ride. Get cashback on card payment after every ride with lots of incentives. You also have the option of fixed fare or fare estimate. Download the app on App Store and Play Store.
Hi-Ride.
Hi-Ride.
Hi-Ride. Hi-Ride. Choose your fare. Let's ride.
Naija people with the yarn better tori abeg.
You found the gold and asked her for just shikini piece of the pie and she killed him for it.
Obini. Fair women.
No one tells a story like we do. Watch Wura and other international shows on Showmax, Africa's original streaming service. Sign up at showmax.com.
Some like it hot, some like it cold, some like it in a mug, some like it on the road. That's right! Whatever your hustle, stay refreshed and ready with the creamy, great tasting new Nescafe Ready to Drink. It comes in a convenient pack with a straw, so you can enjoy it anywhere, anytime. No dulling. Nescafe Ready to Drink. Refresh for the hustle.
Then say health now wealth, but when person they arrange in health, can't lose one hand, one leg. Abi na when you dey hospital, they can't tell you say you must drop heavy money first before they even think of to begin any treatment.
But when Avon HMO tanda gidigba with you, you no go dey shout yekpa, cause last, now all of us need people. Visit avonhealthcare.com now to get Avon Health Plan for you and your people.
Avon HMO, empowering you to live a healthier, fuller life.
You are listening to your number one station for talk.
Your number one station for talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
This is Morning Crossfire on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Welcome back to the show. Health Thursday is what we call it, and we're reaching live from our studios here on Timilehin Crescent, Victoria Island, Lagos, Nigeria. 8:36 is the time this morning. And feel free to also chime in. We'd like to hear from you. We'd like to hear from everybody. If you're a smoker, if you're a friend to a smoker, if you're a partner to a smoker, or if you're a parent of a smoker, whatever it is, feel free. Let's hear your experience as well. Before the break, we heard a call from Dan Baba, who asked two questions. Dr. Timilehin is here from Total Health Trust, as well as wellness manager. He's a regular on this show. I'll soon bring him up here for another conversation, as a matter of fact, like I announced the next time. I'm really interested and passionate about blood donation. So that conversation is still coming on the show. Dr. Timilehin, thank you again for coming through today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Remember how we talked about whether it'll be suitable for you to come in or not come in because of the fuel scarcity, and you're able to make it here. I'm just saying that so that people can be aware of how much you love to educate people. Thank you again for your service. Appreciate it. Let's attend to Damaba's questions about, well, we're going there anyways. Secondhand smoking. He wanted to know how dangerous it is.
All right. And he asked I think it's a brilliant question. It's the way he phrased it. And it's the reality for some people. It's that I'm not really a smoker, but I just like the ambience. There's this cool way cigarettes smell when mixed with air conditioning, or
people say that.
And you hear all sorts of things. I just like the feel of it. I'm not smoking, but I'm just in such environments, and it's important that we're able to clearly spell out that there is such a thing as secondhand smoke. You aren't the one huffing and puffing, but you are in that environment, and you are sadly equally exposed to those particular carcinogens and chemicals and all of that. So it's, some even say that it's even worse off, that you don't even get the benefit of any filters whatsoever, is that you are directly in that environment and you are absorbing all of that. So what can happen to the person who is the first-hand smoker can also happen to someone who is the second-hand smoker. So we must also begin to address and attack possibly that mentality that being in that environment, being a second-hand smoker, is actually harmful. And it's not just something on the side that, oh, you're not the one smoking, but by being present in that environment, it is actually very harmful as well.
Smokers have this idea of when I smoke, there is this thing that I can take that can flush my system. Is such a thing?
Absolutely not. There isn't a flushing that occurs right after you have smoked. Once you have taken in, you have taken it in. Its effect, its impact would already begin to take effect, and you can't undo that as well, except you start stopping. And what the data suggests is that as you begin to stop, your system gets to recover over time, and things like that then get to occur. But if you take it in, you have taken it in all honesty.
There's also this thing about, how is it then that some people can smoke for 40, 50 years and they're still okay?
Great. And that's the notion that also needs to be top of mind, is that people tend to portray that all is well, despite the fact that they are consuming all of the cigarettes. That's where are we getting all of these data from, or 1 in 3 cancer deaths as a result of smoking and things like that. We must understand that as individuals, we have peculiarities. We aren't all wired the same. We don't have the same metabolic rates and processes. And so it means that the effect it would have on us all wouldn't be all the same at the same time. And so that's first of all to establish. Secondly, is that in some instances, the impact is also cumulative. So whilst there isn't an immediate effect in some cases, it doesn't change the fact that something is already going wrong. And then you find out much later along the line that person suffered from a heart attack, or that person just collapsed, or that person slept and did not wake up in some instances, or things like that. So the important thing to note is that individuals who tend to have lived a little longer, despite the fact that they are smoking, doesn't negate the fact that it's not affecting people negatively.
Indeed. Timilehin, let's go to take some calls now. Let's get some calls in before we talk about cigar. For the cool boys. 0700 993 993 993 and 0127465 7190. That's 01465 7190 for the ladies. All right. So please turn off your radio if you're calling us. It's quite important you do that. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning to you.
This is Market Woman.
You're welcome, Market. Joy.
That's all.
Joy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for everything. God bless you, Oga Sheriff.
Thank you. God bless you too.
See, my fear about this smoking.
Tell me.
Even when they know the thing is affecting them, they don't want to disease from me
They're not
at
stop.
all.
They're not stop.
And if I get closer to that place, even if just the little smell, the thing will be, I don't know, it will start making me to vomit.
Hey.
Seriously, talking of the person that is taking it in, they don't care about their life at all. You will be telling them, they say, she been die now die. I don't know what is wrong, especially the youth of this generation. They don't want to care at all. They take all sorts of things. Thank you.
Thank you too for calling. I appreciate your time. Okay, thank you. Let me take another call quickly now. We have this one here as well. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Sheriff.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, this is Rita.
Welcome, Rita. Welcome.
Yeah, Mr. Sheriff, my own is, if we can ban things, can they ban this smoke?
Completely ban it, Abby?
Yes, totally, Mr. Sheriff. I don't even understand, though. These are the things that we're supposed to be banning from the country, to be sincere with you.
Right.
Even drink. If they started drink, they should ban them. You see anyone, you can't, because, Mr. Sheriff, the street is not just it. Young children, everywhere you go, you just see them. It's just like normal thing. This smoke of a thing.
Even young children are doing it. Thank you, Rita, for calling. Let's take another one here. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, sir.
This is Igwe Victor.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
God bless you for making our time to come and educate us on the effect of cigarettes this morning. While you were classifying the variety of smokes or smoking stuffs,
right,
you didn't mention the Igbo, because most times people always think it is the psychomatic side effect of it that is the issue. I really want you to address more, put more light on the effect of that one, because when we talk of smoke, it looks like it's exclusive on cigar,
cigarettes,
and the ordinary cigarette.
Right.
Yeah, I never even remembered yesterday was World
No Tobacco
Smoking Day.
Right.
Somebody came into my shop with cigarette. In fact, he was just puffing this smoke on my face. I got so angry. I told him to leave my shop, that even if for the sake of clarity of my own air, that he doesn't need to do that kind of thing on my inside my shop.
Right.
Thank you so much, Sheriff.
Thank you, Igwe, for calling. Let's take Adeshawa's call. Adeshawa, hi. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, I have two questions.
Yes,
please.
please.
One guy told me one time that it's actually the way you use tobacco, that if you smoke it, you are busy. It's a question that if you smoke it, that's when you are abusing it. But when you use it to cook beans, they say you use it, if you use it to cook beans, that it has nutritional value to the body. Okay. I don't smoke now, but I want, because it's right here with me, and I want you to.
He's right there. Wait. Let's answer this one because of time. Yeah, let's answer just this one.
Let me ask the second one.
Oh yeah, go on.
The second one is that is it true that the person that is inhaling the smoke is the person that actually smoking, or the person that is smoking gongo?
What does that mean?
As in, if somebody is smoking beside you, you are the one actually smoking. As in, if you are inhaling the smoke, you are the one actually smoking. How true is it?
Okay, all right. Let's talk about the cooking first. Yeah?
All right, really, really quickly. So let me just pick up from his second, and then I'll just dial back to his first. So his question about the second question had to do with first and second hand smoking. That it's just the person that is around them that is actually feeling it and all of that. But like we have said, it's both first hand, second hand, and we really must understand that both the person in that environment and the person actually smoking are both exposed to the ills and the dangers of it thereof. Right. To address his first question, which is one of the things I touched on earlier, is that we must also understand that it's not only the smoking of tobacco that is dangerous. And whilst he is even exploring the cooking aspect, you and I know that, there was a time wherein people just chew this thing. They put it in these very small things and they just put it in their mouth and then they're chewing it. So whether you're chewing it, whether you are piping it, whether you are smoking it, whatever mode of consumption that you have chosen to subscribe to, it is still harmful, because at the end of the day, it's a product that when you break it down, it then contains all of these different elements that we had mentioned earlier. So it's not just limited to people who are smoking it. As a substance, when it's broken down, it then produces all of these things that we mentioned: the nicotine, the arsenic, the nickel, the cadmium, and there are so many different of these toxic chemicals that are embedded in it. So whether you choose to cook it, whether you choose to chew it, it's still very much harmful.
Right. I have this message here that says smoking is really, truly bad. An addiction. It took me almost 3 years to finally quit smoking, but I'm glad I'm finally free from it. Thank you, Anonymous, for sharing your thoughts. This person says, I have a question for your guest. What are his thoughts on the concept of tobacco harm reduction and nicotine-based reduced risk products as an alternative to cigarette smoking? I don't know if you've heard of vaping before.
Yes, and I'm glad that we touched on it.
Yeah.
Interestingly, and like I said before when we're talking about shisha, some of the genius ways that people come about, because like I think it was one of the callers that mentioned that, can't you just completely ban this thing and all of that? There is an economy behind these things. So it's not just one marketer, one seller, one person producing. It's a full-blown industry. And so having to completely kick it off, it's almost impossible in that sense. And it then borders on people taking personal responsibility in addressing some of these things. So conversations like this are absolutely important to actually get people more enlightened. Now, having said that, in terms of addressing the addiction, there are things that can be done. So there are nicotine patches, nicotine gums, things to help the individual ease off from it. And in that category, you also find the concept of vaping, which is that an individual is still consuming it, but then you are supposedly consuming it in a less harmful way. So in that instance, it's liquid that then evolves, is heated, and then you get the smoke, and then you are actually doing that. But let me also just quickly say, and this is something that is verifiable, when vaping first of all hit the market, the initial kickback was that it caused deaths. In a teenage population in the US, about 10 people died as a result of the very first launch of vaping and all of that. And one of the reasons why that happened is that at the end of the day, there is a hydrocarbon substance that is still consumed when an individual is vaping. It's called THC, tetrahydrocarbon. And that in itself can also cause the lungs to get inflated, and then it can ultimately lead to complications that can also be very much harmful. So whatever the avenue is that we choose to route, it really is something that we need to ensure we address and possibly get to a halt.
You mentioned something in passing, and as we're beginning to round off now, you mentioned something in passing about nicotine gum and the rest of them. For those who are trying to get help right now, how do they begin to get off smoking? Because I know there should be some type of ways that they can you can help them with.
All right, great. And that's a really, really good thing to begin to touch on as we begin to close, is that as people gradually begin to possibly make up their minds that, okay, I want to put a halt to this, but bearing in mind very well that the nicotine aspect of it makes it addictive, and it's then a struggle. And let me just quickly add this. There are other concepts added to just the nicotine. Remember that it's also usually a social activity. So there is a social addiction to it. Most people do not tend to smoke alone. They smoke.
True, very true.
There is that communal gathering of people smoking and enjoying it together. So it's a multi-layered addiction in many cases, and it's important to view it as such. And if an individual makes up their minds to actually stop smoking, it means that you also need to begin to check the company, because remember that it's not just a nicotine addiction, it's a social addiction as well. And you must actually look at both faces. So it means that first of all, it's important to attempt to begin to curb that as well, in terms of ensuring that you are taking steps away from the social addiction. Do not be fooled into thinking that, oh, I still hang out with
you can
boys.
do it.
Exactly.
You can handle yourself.
And all of that. Because on the first hand, there's secondhand smoking. On the other hand, just that social addiction can also fuel your recommencement of the actual consumption of cigarettes. So there is that to actually handle. I also believe that some accountability is very important. And whilst we might not have an abundance of, groups that help you with all of those sort of things, you then want to actually be held accountable by somebody. So it's also advisable to have what is called an accountability partner, someone to actually hold you responsible on your commitment. To actually, it could be a spouse, it could be a friend, and gladly just the person that called earlier that his friend is here that actually does that. So he could be the one holding that person accountable, but ultimately that is also very helpful. And at the end of the day, you also want to then talk to a doctor about it, because there could also be some struggle with withdrawing from it and all of that. So you want to actually have a doctor guide that process as much as possible, and if you would need help in terms of talking to a therapist, that also available as well.
Is there also a need for them to, especially those who've been smoking for quite some time, to go for some full body checkup?
Absolutely, because like we said, you can actually tell from the state of the individual's lungs sometimes. So if an individual has been smoking over a period of time, remember that we mentioned earlier that there are things in the lungs that help you to actually regulate, reduce infection rates and things like that. And so if an individual has been smoking over a protracted period of time, it's also good to actually get a check, get to look at what the state of the individual's lungs are, and also some of that checks that also help to check the state of the individual's system, because like we said, it's a multi-systemic ill that we need to really address.
Indeed. So what we're going to do now is to begin to wrap up, because we're completely out of time. But before we go, please, how can people reach you for more questions as regards smoking, and if they need help?
All right. I think you put me on the spot by asking. because I'm sure I can't drop my phone number.
I'm sorry. Well, are you on social? You say you're
yes,
not.
yes, I am. So my most active social media platform is LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
So
yeah, I knew it.
I'm
I
sorry
knew that you once mentioned that you're not on Twitter. You're on Twitter, but you're not really active.
Yes, I'm not really
Hello,
active.
why?
Preference and sanity as
Yeah.
well. So if you need to reach me for further conversations, I'll be delighted to engage with you on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Name is Timilehin Ogunkoya on LinkedIn.
Timilehin Ogunkoya on LinkedIn. Dr. Ogunkoya, thank you again. Thank you so much for always answering our call. And I'm hoping to have you back here in a little over 2 weeks.
Yeah,
a little over a week. Let's talk about blood. Because I've had conversation about blood donation and what have you before as to how it's healthy and the rest of them, but quite a number of people may not know. So we'll have that conversation next.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Lagos, that's our show this morning on the Morning Crossfire. Tomorrow is Open Mic Friday, so please, whatever it is that we couldn't touch this week on the Morning Crossfire, you can come through with them. We start from 5 a.m. Then you can share your thought on all of these, even on health. Yeah, you can do anything that you want to talk about. Open Mic Friday, it gives you that platform to do that. All righty. I'll see you tomorrow at 5. Daily Digest with Jimmy Disu is next. Good morning to you.
And I want to assume that you would run because I want to give the listeners context for the conversation.
In 2019, you were running mate to Atiku Abubakar. What did you learn then that you will not repeat this time?
Yes, when is the president coming out to address us?
There's a few things. One, I have a burden and a passion for young people.
The fact that you have elected a man does not mean then you begin to order him around. The president will do whatever is good for the country at any given time.
Mr. Adeshino, isn't the president responsible to the people?
What should the next president do to root out stakeholders who are complicit?
You fire those that need to be fired are fired.
It's looking like a brand new Chelsea, attacking with so much fluidity. And what can you say about that, Martin? I know you follow Chelsea quite closely.
I live close to the Chelsea training ground. That's what you mean by that. I'm not.